Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. We know you're all about getting to the good stuff quickly, right? No time wasted, just straight to the juicy knowledge without getting bogged down in all the technical jargon.
Exactly. And today we're taking a closer look at something one of you brought to our attention, actually. Astragalus membranaceus, huh?
Astragalus membranaceus. Now that might sound like a mouthful, but in traditional Chinese medicine, it's kind of a big deal. It's got this reputation for, well, helping people live longer.
That's right. It's even been looked at for possibly helping with cancer treatment, too.
Pretty big claims, right? And we got this great new note from one of you that dives into it all. And that's exactly what we're going to do today, right?
Yeah, a deep dive into the science. Can we really back up these traditional uses with actual research? Or is it all just hype? Let's find out.
Awesome. So let's start with the longevity thing. I mean, how does this herb supposedly help people live longer lives?
Right. Well, to understand that, we got to start with how our cells age in the first place.
Okay, so we're going cellular here. I'm intrigued.
So picture this. Telomeres. Think of them like the little protective caps at the end of your shoelaces. You know, the ones that stop them from fraying.
Okay, got it. Our chromosomes have tiny caps on the ends.
Exactly. And every time a cell divides, those telomeres, they get a little bit shorter.
So it's like with each cell division, those little protective caps wear down a bit. And that's what contributes to aging, isn't it?
You got it. It's like a biological clock ticking away inside all cells. And as those telomeres get shorter and shorter, well, things start to go wrong.
Right, the cells get old and stop working like they should. That's when senescence kicks in, right?
Exactly. That's when cells start to malfunction, contributing to all those signs of aging we see and unfortunately feel. But here's the really interesting part. Back in the early 2000s, researchers found something pretty fascinating in Astragalus.
Okay, I'm all ears. What did they find?
It's a compound called cycloastragenol, and get this, the cycloastragenol seems to activate telomerase.
Okay, hold on. Telomerase, what's that now?
Well, it's an enzyme, but it's a special one because it can actually maintain and even rebuild those telomere caps.
Whoa, wait a minute. You're telling me there's an enzyme that can actually rebuild those protective caps that wear down as we age? That's huge.
Right. So now the big question is, could Astragalus, with its cycloastragenol, actually slow down aging at the cellular level by influencing the length of our telomeres?
So potentially hitting the pause button on our biological clock. Pretty mind-blowing stuff. But let's get real here. What does the actual evidence say? Did these early studies show Astragalus as some kind of fountain of youth?
Not quite a fountain of youth, but they did find some interesting things, especially in animal studies.
Okay, so what happened with the animals?
Well, researchers saw that this cycloastragenol could lead to, slightly longer telomeres and some improvements in things connected to a longer health span.
Health span. So not just living longer, but living healthier for longer, right?
Exactly. We're talking about things like better heart function and a stronger immune system. But it's important to note, they didn't always find that the animals actually lived longer overall.
Okay, so promising, but not a guaranteed ticket to a longer life.
Sure.
Got it. What about humans, though? What happened when they started studying Astragalus in people?
Well, the early human trials, they hinted at some possibilities. They suggested astragalus might help reduce the number of cells with those super short critical telomeres. The problem is those early studies weren't perfect.
Okay, what was wrong with them?
Often people in the studies were taking like a bunch of different supplements all at the same time.
So it's hard to tell what's really doing what, right?
Exactly. And they didn't always have really good control groups, some people not taking astragalus for comparison. So it's tough to say for sure if astragalus was the real reason for any changes they saw.
Makes sense. You need that clear comparison to be sure. But I think your note mentioned some newer research, right?
Yes. More recent studies have used what's called randomized controlled trials, the gold standard.
Ah, the gold standard. Gotta love it.
Right. So they randomly assign people to either get the astragalus extract or a placebo, and neither the people in the study nor the researchers know who's getting what.
So it's all about eliminating bias. Smart. And what did these more rigorous studies show?
Well, they're actually looking a bit more promising. They suggest certain astragalus extracts might have a good effect on telomere dynamics. And here's the best part. They didn't find any serious side effects.
That's good news. But you still seem a bit hesitant. Why is that?
Well, even though these newer studies are better, they're still just preliminary. We need bigger, longer studies to really nail down these findings, to see if astragalus really does have those anti-aging benefits in humans that we can see and feel.
So it's like we're seeing some encouraging clues, but we need more pieces of the puzzle to complete the picture.
Exactly. What's fascinating to me is how traditional use, which goes back like centuries, might actually be lining up with what modern science is discovering about cells.
It's like ancient wisdom meeting cutting-edge science.
Yeah.
Super cool. Now let's switch gears a bit. Your note also talks about astragalus and cancer therapy. That's a big one for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Researchers have been looking into whether astragalus could be a helpful addition to conventional cancer treatments, especially for a type of lung cancer called non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC.
NSCLC, got it. And what have they found? Is there any indication that astragalus could actually help in the fight against cancer?
So there have been these things called meta-analyses.
Meta-analyses, what are those exactly?
So basically, they're studies of studies. Researchers take data from a bunch of different studies and put it all together to get a bigger, more reliable picture.
Okay, so a meta-analysis is like a super study, combining all the data.
Right. And some of these meta-analyses suggest that when astragalus is used together with standard cancer treatments like chemo and radiation, you might actually see some positive results.
Like what? What kind of positive results are we talking about?
For example, they've seen signs of better tumor response rates. That means the treatments are more effective at shrinking the cancer. And some studies have even reported longer survival times for people with NSCLC who used astragalus alongside chemo.
Wow, longer survival times. That's a really big deal.
Right. And it's not just about fighting the cancer itself. We also have to think about those awful side effects that come with conventional treatments.
Yeah, those side effects can be brutal.
And that's another area where astragalus might help. Some research suggests that people going through radiation who also used astragalus had fewer side effects like nausea and problems with their organs.
That's amazing. If it can help people feel even a little bit better during such a difficult time, that's a huge win.
Exactly. But just like with the longevity research, there's a bit of a catch.
I was wondering when the but was coming. Okay, lay it on me. What's the catch?
A lot of these studies looking at astragalus in cancer use those traditional multi-herb formulas, not just astragalus on its own.
So it's like a delicious smoothie where you love the taste, but you're not quite sure which ingredient is giving it that specific flavor you love.
That's a great analogy. It makes it hard to say for sure that any benefits are only because of the astragalus. Other herbs in the mix could be playing a part too.
Gotcha. So more research is needed to isolate the specific effects of astragalus. But your note mentions another concern, right? Something about oncogenes.
Oh, right. So there's been some concern that astragalus might accidentally turn on these things called oncogenes.
Oncogenes. Okay, break that down for me. What are those?
Think of them like genes that can make cancer cells grow when they're mutated, or there's too many of them.
So the worry is that astragalus could be like accidentally flipping a switch that tells cancer cells to grow faster.
That's the idea, but thankfully, most of the evidence so far doesn't really support that worry. It's something researchers are keeping an eye on, of course. But for now, it doesn't look like a major concern, especially when astragalus is used as an add-on to those conventional cancer treatments.
Okay, that's good to hear. Phew. Now, zooming out a bit, you mentioned something about astragalus being, well, commercialized.
Right, so you know that cycloastragenol we talked about, the one that might affect those telomere caps? Well, it's actually available in supplements like TA65.
So you can just buy it as a supplement.
Yeah, and that's led to a lot of excitement, especially among people interested in anti-aging and wellness.
I bet. But with that kind of excitement, I imagine there are also some raised eyebrows, right? Maybe some questions about regulation and stuff.
Absolutely. These supplements are marketed as potentially slowing down aging, but those claims haven't always sat well with regulatory bodies. Plus, these fancy purified supplements are often way more expensive than just buying the plain astragalus herb.
So you might be paying a lot more for a concentrated version of something that's already available naturally and affordably.
Exactly. And this has caused a bit of a divide among scientists. Some are all aboard the cycloastragenol train, while others are like, hold on, we need more solid research before we tell everyone to jump on board, especially given the cost.
Right, especially when people's health and wallets are on the line. So big picture here, it's complicated.
Yeah, it shows how scientific discoveries, making money, and people's desire to live healthier, longer lives can all get tangled up.
Definitely makes you think. Okay, so let's wrap things up. Based on our deep dive into this note, what are the key takeaways about astragalus, its potential for longevity, and its role in cancer support?
When it comes to longevity, the research suggests that some Astragalus extracts might be able to influence those telomere dynamics, which are like super important for how cells age.
Right, those little caps on the chromosomes.
But it's really important to remember the evidence we have right now isn't a slam dunk. We still need those larger, longer-term studies in humans to really confirm what we're seeing.
Gotcha. So potential there, but more research is needed. What about the cancer stuff?
Well, for cancer, especially that non-small cell lung cancer, the evidence is actually pretty encouraging. Those meta-analyses we talked about,
These
remember?
super studies, yeah.
Right. They suggest that using Astragalus, along with conventional treatments, might help shrink tumors and lessen some of those nasty side effects. But the multi-herb formula thing, it's still a bit of a mystery.
Still can't say for sure it's all because of the Astragalus.
Yep. So overall, it seems like Astragalus is at this really cool crossroads where ancient practices are meeting modern science. We're just starting to uncover its potential.
And that's a good reminder for anyone thinking about adding Astragalus to their routine, especially if they have any health conditions or are going through cancer treatment, right?
Absolutely. Talk to your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional first. They can give you advice based on your individual situation.
Always good advice. It's all about personalized care. And, as more research comes out, we'll get an even clearer picture of how Astragalus can help support a longer, healthier life.
I'm really excited to see what future research uncovers. It's a fascinating area.
Me too. Well, that's been a truly insightful deep dive into the world of Astragalus. We hope you've enjoyed it and learned a thing or two without feeling overwhelmed by the science.
Definitely. It's complex, but understanding this stuff is so important for making good decisions about your health.
And on that note, here's a final thought to ponder. Astragalus has been used for ages in traditional medicine, and now we're starting to see some scientific support for its potential benefits. What does this tell us about other traditional remedies that are still waiting for their turn in the scientific spotlight?
It's a great question.
It really makes you wonder what other hidden gems are out there just waiting to be discovered.
It really does.
It's like this whole treasure trove of ancient wisdom that might have some really valuable insights for modern health and well-being. Until next time, happy exploring.
See then.